was an elevated dance place.
Yeah, well, what it was originally was where the railroad, the terminal for the logging railroad that came in there.
There was a logging dock, and they just ran. The roads basically, maybe you can correct me, I don't know. I think most of those roads followed the log rails.
Well, basically, Barber Cutoff Road was the
log
train coming in from the Eglon area, and then if you'll notice when you come down where Barber Cutoff and West Kingston come together, you'll see a little road that went on just looking to the southeast. You'll see that that was where the railroad track went on down to this big open space. But that was where Kingston's had all of their celebrations and everything was down there. And early days, to get from the from where the dock is over to that, there was actually a boardwalk that ran along the beach.
Do you remember any specific games or memories that you had as a child in school?
Well, let's see, there was a year that our 8th grade class beat St. Martin's in football, and that was a big thing. Here was a little backwater school, and they had a football team, and they actually played touch football and beat the St. Martin's prep school from Olympia.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things, I don't know if you remember, Jack, one of the games they played was called Shinny. And this game consisted of, you take a milk can, and then you go out and find a madrona tree, a young one, and if you find that they all come out of the ground, they're like a hockey stick. And you played it like hockey, except that you swung from the right side and you'd yell shinny, and that meant somebody could whack you. And that was the game they played. Where the field he described, the long one, they always played shinny.
What was your favorite teacher in school?
Mrs. Harding.
I guess I'd have to say Miss Goff. She was my 1st and 2nd grade teacher.
Yeah. I think there's a picture of her in there.
I liked Beatrice McDonald, my 1st and 2nd grade teacher. Remember Miss McDonald?
Yeah.
She was my favorite. And Mr. Diggerness.
Yeah?
And Mabel Ryan.
I laugh. My aunt just died, and Mrs. Diggerness was at the funeral. They moved up to Sumas after they went.
I visited them when I went on an elder hostel up in Bellingham.
Yeah.
And he was doing needlepoint. When he had good eyes, he was doing needlepoint. He won a prize at the Linden Fair with his needlepoint.
Okay,
I think one of the most startling things I realized with Jack when we drove in Kingston, you know where the store sits down there up on top of the hill?
yeah.
I looked across there, I used to hunt pheasant there. And I think you look where you could, this area here we used to hunt deer up through here.
Yes, they still come in.
Still a lot of them.
Oh, there are at least 2 or 3 here. They come down, and sometimes people spend more time watching the deer on the hill than paying attention to the pastor at services.
Yeah, they used to feed on the strawberries at Akio Hash's place.
Ah, okay.
In my 5th and 6th grades down here at the old schoolhouse was Miss Lane, Mr. Altman, and Mr. McCall was the principal. And we had 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down on the lower floor, and up above was 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th.
Well, when I went to school there in my 1st, 2nd grades, 3rd grades, we had 3 rooms that we used. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grades were all downstairs on the west side, and downstairs on the east side was empty. It was a storeroom. And up above on the east side was 4th, 5th, and 6th grades, and then the upper grades. And they did have the 1st year of high school there too, because some of the older ones went to high school and took typing and things. And a lot of them then went to Edmonds to high school.
Sonny Stevenson.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, now, when you went to school, was the North Kitsap, or was it U4? Remember the school song, they used to have a U4, because before it became School District 400, it was actually School District 4.
I thought they called it Paulsville. Didn't they call it
Well,
Paulsville High School?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, it was a Union High School, wasn't it?
Union High School.
Union High School.
Oh, Union High
Okay,
School.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
How about when you were a child?
What?
How about when you were a child? Do you remember anything from school, like
Oh, yeah.
you did?
When I went to school, I had to walk 3/4 of a mile just to catch a school bus and ride down. And I started first grade in Kingston School in 1938. And that's like Jack said, we had two grades in the same room.
But one thing about Johnny, though, was actually his school district was Highland School District.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
not where I lived, was where I could have either went to Port Gamble or Kingston or Highland.
Yeah,
But it was the whole mile walk to Highland.
yeah.
It was closer to walk the corner out there 3/4 of a mile.
But you actually had three, when you come down to it, the school districts, like, actually you were in the...
I was in Kingston, but across the road, the three King boys were in Highland District.
Yeah.
But Grandpa Collins came down and talked to the school board. He said, we need a bus to go up there a whole mile. We don't want to send a little first grader all by herself walking. And so they did. They put the King boys over into the Kingston District.
Because when I was in school, all those kids came in on the Hansville bus and were picked up by the Kingston bus to come into the Kingston school. So it was, when you start looking at all the various school districts that we had around in the north end, you had one school at Little Boston, you had one at Eglon, one at Hansville, one at Highland, and then you had Franklin School and Harding School and
Yeah.
Indianola
Miller Bay
School and Millers Bay School and Suquamish.
And there was a little building down at South Kingston for a while.
But it was a South
Yeah.
Kingston
Yeah.
School. Yeah.
Way back,
When you were young, did you have school uniforms?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah.
Uniforms? We didn't wear uniforms. No.
How many kids were at Highland? How many kids were up at that Highland school? There couldn't have been many. The Barneses lived up there.
Well, it was, I think, well, they were all all 8 grades in one room.
Yeah.
And the Andersons and what else was up there? There wasn't too many kids that went to that school.
Angela Sullivan was a teacher up there, and she married Richard Gordon. She's the astronaut's mother. She taught up at Highland.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, did she teach?
Yes.
I know she was a teacher, but I didn't know
Yes.
she taught.
Yes.
Okay.
And she taught at Paulsville Elementary
Yeah.
when I was teaching there during World War II.
Okay.
Well, your mother substituted out there, finished up out there, there was only 6 kids. And then 2 of them were right there and off the highway. I'm trying to think what their names were. Because the road went bad and Mother had to park right where Wolfie School is and then walk over to Highland School because the road wasn't good enough to drive a car.